Alright, today we're going to check out this Gunnr Odin 1-10 power LPVO. I previously reviewed their 1-6. You'll see there it's a 28mm. I believe the 1-6 and 1-8 is only a 24mm. So with the 1-10 you also step up to a 28mm. If you did not catch that 1-6 video and you'd like to see that, I'll put a link in the description so you can go check that out if you want. But I remember just being completely blown away by that 1-6, that these Gunnrs here are my favorite LPVO scopes to date. It is the nicest LPVOs I've ever used, and I don't currently have a review of one, but I've used a Vortex Strike Eagle, I believe it's called, 1-8 before, and I still think these are nicer. They are a first focal plane, so the reticle increases in size as you zoom in. And I asked for the 1-6 first because I had intended on later testing the 1-10, which we're finally doing here today. And so in that review video of the 1-6, I was like, man, this thing is nice. And I was like, but with it being a first focal plane, plus more zooms are better anyways, right? I was like, with that 1-8 would almost be perfect even, but especially with 1-10, that would be absolutely perfect. I was hoping, I was left hoping for a, not hoping for, I don't think it's the right word, but wishing for a little more magnification. Some guys, they only want a 1-6, and for them that's fine, but I love these 1-10s. I appreciate the extra magnification because I do shoot 223, 5.56 out to 500 yards regularly on the channel, so 10x really helps for that. But especially with this being a first focal plane and the reticle starts out real tiny and grows in size, obviously the more you can zoom in, the larger that reticle gets. So that's going to help as well. So real excited to try this 1-10 today. And then, like I said, it's also a 28mm front lens there instead of a 24mm like their 1-6 to 1-8. But yeah, just everything about the 1-6 was awesome, so I can't wait to try this 1-10. It's going to be even better. I'll get some images as best I can through the reticle for you guys when we get down to the range. So we're doing a quick unbox overview here, and then we're going to take her down to the range. Obviously, you've seen there, I got the scope caps that just popped off there, little rubber stretchy bands, and they are see-through, which I love. Excuse me. I hate the ones that you can't see through, because if you need to use it real quick in an emergency situation, you might not have time to rip these off to see. So I think it's awesome that they are completely see-through, so you can still use the scope close quarters combat if you have to, if you don't have time to rip them off there. Of course, you got your diopter here, so you can adjust it for your own personal eyesight. There's your magnification there. Everything is super smooth, nothing's gritty or anything. Like I said, this is probably the best LPVO I've ever used to date. They are super nice. Locking turrets, and these things are great, which even more reason to want to go with the 1-10. If you want an LPVO scope that's more precision minded or is better for longer range than most other LPVOs, this is definitely the one to go with, because it's set up like a big boy long range scope, especially with the first focal plane reticle. But you can see all the numbers of windage and elevation you get there. Of course, we've got audible clicks, so this thing will go around many times, so you can really dial this up if you want to. Get back on 0 there. Okay, they both work the same. Clearly marked. I don't think I got that one back on 0, but. And of course, they are resettable. So if you gotta, you know, go clear up here and clear over here when you first throw it on your rifle to get it zeroed for 100 yards, you can then remove these. You pull the cap up, you'll be able to spin it back to 0 without it clicking, without it changing your 0, to get these dials back to 0, so that you can properly use, I'm lost here, so you can properly use the windage and elevation marks to adjust for dope windage and elevation and whatnot without changing your 0. Sorry about the focus there. I know it's not focusing the best on what I was trying to show you guys there. Quarter MOA per click. Further proving that this is a more precision-minded LPVO scope. Most LPVOs are half MOA clicks, whereas this is quarter MOA clicks. So much more precise range of adjustment there for you. Clearly marked which direction is going to turn you which way. So again, it has the long-range Christmas tree style reticle with tons of holdover marks for windage and elevation, but if you want to, you can easily use this to dial up for your dope. That way you don't have to aim high or anything. Also, the somewhat traditional LPVO scope BDC reticles, those work fine for 55 and 62 grain 5.56 and 150 grain 308. But if you're using any other grain of bullet weight, which most guys that shoot longer range and shoot for precision and accuracy are using heavier loads than that for those calibers, or if you're shooting any other caliber besides those two, those BDC marks are not going to work for you anyways. So you'll already want to go with a different reticle at that point, something like this right here. Which again, the Christmas tree reticle style here, this is pretty much the go-to for long range shooting, because all those dots there, they give you tons of options for windage and elevation holdovers for very far ranges. Or alternatively, like I said, very easy to dial this thing up for your dope and windage elevation and all that if you just want to aim right at the target instead of having to use a holdover mark. Part of it is illuminated, so here's your illumination over here, and you got a dead spot between each one. So if you want to shut it off, you don't got to spin it all the way back around. You can just go one notch back from whatever you have it in either direction to turn it off there. So that's always a nice feature. Obviously your battery is going to go under there. You screw that guy off there to put your battery on there. See what else we get in the box real quick. So there's, well, we got a big silica pack in there. Oh, here we go. I was going to say, I would assume there's instructions and such. Although a lot of companies nowadays, they're doing the digital downloads. So actually, believe it or not, a lot of them are no longer coming with physical instruction manuals. Whoa, whoa. So you got a screen wipe there. That's absolutely massive. The more the merrier. There's one of your tools there. Let's see what else fell here. A little Allen wrench tool. That's probably for the resettable turrets. There's your throw lever, so you can either choose to install it or not. It's up to you. Comes with the battery there. We got one more thing over here. Okay, this looks like the instructions here. Quick reference card. There's your instructions there, and hopefully it'll stay in here somewhere, but these do have a lifetime warranty. So there's some of your, if I can get a focus for you guys that want to pause and read that, there's some of your specifications. But that pretty much does it for the unboxing and overview, so let's head down to the range, get her mounted up, and see how she does. Alright, there she is all mounted up and ready to go. Rings are a little high, I just grabbed some rings that I had, so probably look a little better with one of those cantilever forward mount rings where it, you know, it's a solid piece, ducks back. Anyways, I got her up on there. Doesn't look too terrible. Okay. So, I get to zeroing this thing. I'm probably going to take a sighter on some debris down there on the dirt and then get it close at 50. And then we'll finalize at 100. Shooting 55 grain ammunition today, which is not this rifle's most favorite grain of bullet, so we're probably going to be in the 2-some inch neighborhood as far as groups go there. Then once we get it at zeroed at 100, I got my 16-inch steel gong out there at 400 yards. And stay tuned, in a few minutes I will show you guys to the best of my ability. Always looks way better in person, but I'll get you some images through the scope so you can get an idea of what the reticle and the illumination looks like. Alright, this is the very first shot. We're going for that white piece above the grass there.
Alright, these are quarter MOA clicks as we discussed earlier in the video, so that is 50 yards. This is just a wild guess. Obviously I'm not down there measuring the dirt, but it looks like about 8 inches low and 6 inches off to the right. So if that was 100 yards, that would roughly be 8 MOA and 6 MOA, but I need to double it since I'm at 50 yards, so 16 MOA up. That's where your little numbers come in. And we needed 6 to the left. So we got to double that because we're at 50 instead of 100. So we need 12. And again, that is just purely guesstimation. I'm not down there measuring it, but that should get us a lot closer and pretty close on paper. So now we'll, probably take one more at that white piece just to be sure before we go to paper. Because again, it's just a wild guess here. That's what I'm guessing. We're about, I guessed 8 low. We might be 12 inches low. So it's just a wild guess right now. Let's see how much closer that puts us to that white piece there. Alright, so as you saw there, we're way closer. Looked like maybe still a little ripe. Definitely a few inches too high there though. I'll give her a few more clicks and then we'll go to this paper here. You guys are going to hear the wind come in just a second. You got this freaking storm coming. It has been flooding out here. It will not stop raining on the days it's not raining, like right now for just a few hours. Heat index is over 100 due to the humidity. I'm getting out here while I can, but this sounds like it's about to turn bad. And I hear rain. And this camera holder is pissing me off. I got time to mess with this camera. I might have to move stuff because of the rain. Take one at that center oval real quick.
I felt like I pulled that first shot off to the right there. That's why I took the second shot, which is at the very tippy top of the oval. But I seen it was high there, and I believe it was still averaging slightly right. So I gave her a few clicks in both directions to adjust for that. And that's 2 shots right in the middle of the oval there.
Alright, go ahead and finalize down here at 100. And then we'll reach out to that 400 yard gong. Go for that dot on the right. I was really not liking those, but I'm definitely averaging a little right, so I'm going to give it a few clicks left. Alright, I probably already voiced over in the video by now, but my heart rate is through the roof. I can see it through the scope, bumping back and forth almost an entire inch left and right every time it hits. But I got some hand loads here I'm curious about. I want to try and see if those do any better. They're still 55 grain, but this thing prefers 68 grain and 77 grain ammo, but I want to try these out real quick, so we'll go for that dot on the top. Get about a 3-inch group down there with the PMC bronze I was just using. Hey, alright, it likes those. That's the best it's ever done with 55 grain, and I was just kind of rushing them, not taking my time, and again, I can still see my heartbeat bouncing that scope around, so that's great news. It likes those. So those are a lot better. That's what we're switching to now. So that's pretty good 0. Now this thing has a Christmas tree reticle, remember, so unlike somewhat traditional LPVO scopes where they have the BDC reticle, they show you where to hold for 55 grain and 62 grain 5.56 NATO. Also 308 7.62 by 51 because much bigger caliber there, but they have about the same trajectory clear out there, 500 yards and a little beyond. But anyways, this has a Christmas tree reticle like a long range scope as we discussed before, so I got to remember, well, these are hand loads, but I got to kind of guess about how much they're going to drop out there so that I can use the appropriate holdover mark on that Christmas tree reticle to get hits. So,
and again, I don't have to do that. I'm choosing to do that because I haven't worked up any data on this load and, you know, to enter my dope and know exactly how many clicks I need at that range so that it'll hit dead on. So we're just plain guessing out here with the holdover marks. I could hit this on my very first shot if I knew and ran all the load data, but I don't, and I'm not.
These first shots down here kind of be a little bit of a guess, and if we hit low, high, or whatever, we'll just adjust accordingly. Alright, I cannot hear it with my ears in, but it looks like at least on the second one we hit it, so I got to review this footage real quick. See if I need to adjust my aim any, or see if we're good there.
So obviously we're pretty close there. I don't know if you guys could see it in the camera there, but that second hit was the very top left edge. But as you can see, that 400 mound just off to the right of that gong there, there's plenty of crap to shoot at there. So I shot at that board there so I could see where in the dirt it was actually hitting so that I could adjust my aim accordingly. So I finished that up, but while I was doing that, this blew in.
Let's try this again. I think I know where to hold now. Of course, the weather's not helping any. The wind's changing direction, rain, and all of that. I'm having a great time out here. Like I said, been dealing with just, it has rained more days than not. I swear it seems like 90% of the days it's been raining. You know, I'm in Ohio, but you would swear I was in Washington State with the amount that it's been raining this year. Oh, it's been freaking flooding. We've never had floods like we had this year. I'm sure you guys don't want to hear me ramble on anymore. Anyways, let's see if I can hit it now. I think I know where to hold now. Because again, if I ran my dope and did the mathematics and all that, we'd be getting hits first try, but we're just slinging them down here trying to wrap this up. And why is that, you might ask? Well, take a look.
Now the camera's going to turn on me after the first 3 shots here, further adding to my frustration. But if you keep listening, you can hear the other 2 shots hit as well.
Well, that was a hit. Oh, of course the freaking camera moves on me while I'm getting 5 hits in a row. So hopefully you saw some of those. Hopefully you could hear them all. Don't know what you can hear over the rain, but I got 5 hits in a row. I think we're done here as far as the shooting part goes. Well, maybe if it stops, I might take a few more if this freaking wind stops, considering I don't even know what we got on camera. But I got 5 hits in a row in this crap, so definitely found where to hold there.
Alright, so first and foremost, obviously it always looks way better in person than what I can ever capture on the camera. But also throw in the fact that every one of these photos, it's actually raining if you look hard enough. On top of it being foggy out there from the humidity, you can actually see like the raindrops coming down. So that's making it even worse for me to get clear, crisp images for you guys. But given that, I think that speaks volumes for the glass in this thing. Because they didn't turn out too bad, even though it was really crappy conditions and raining. But that black ring you see around there, this thing has the biggest eye box I have ever seen. It goes completely edge to edge. I'm not used to that whatsoever, especially from an LPVO. So it's just the camera putting that black ring around the lens is like it's focusing on something that I do not see when I look through it. So that image is clear edge to edge when I look through it. It's absolutely fantastic eye box. Biggest I've ever seen in an LPVO, and still a top runner for every scope I've ever tested. But these images just do not convey that, because it makes it look like there's a black ring around it, when in fact, when looking through it in person, it's edge to edge, man. But there's the 50 and 100 yard mound on minimum magnification, actually no magnification, on 1x there. And if you look hard, you can kind of see, I do have it illuminated, fresh battery, well, the battery it came with anyways. And you can kind of see it. It's a little easier in person because, again, the images are not as good as what it looks like in person looking through it with your own actual eye. But if you're to aim at like the black targets we were shooting at, then it's much easier to see. Or if you aim into some dark foliage as you see here, then it becomes a little easier to see. I know a lot of people like them to be daytime bright in full sun. This one on minimum magnification, or 1x rather, absolutely would not be in full sun. But really, that's not the purpose of these. It is so if you're aiming at a black target, instead of just having a black crosshair that fades into the black target, it will actually illuminate against that target, which it will, and you'll be able to see it to make the distinction. Or again, if you're aiming into dark foliage, or at a black bear or a moose or something dark colored animal like that, or low light conditions, you're going to see it just fine. They're not really made for full sun. That said, the only reason it's so difficult to see right now, and again in person it's a little bit better, is because it's the first focal plane, so everything's very small right now. But once you start to zoom in, it becomes easier to see, as you will see here. And this is 3x magnification, again showing the 50 and 100 yard mounds. Again, it looks better in person, but even you guys now behind the screen can see it. Again, it's brighter, more crisp and vibrant in person, and you can even start to make out all those little holdover marks in the Christmas tree reticle there, which again in person are much easier to spot. And then here's the target at 100 yards on full 10x magnification. Now you can see that red center illuminated clear as day, which again you can turn it off. And I wanted to show you guys this image again. It looks different in person. The dot in the center of my crosshair there looks about the same size as those red dots on my target. Those red dots are 3/4 of an inch. However, when I was looking through it with my actual eye, instead of trying to get these images for you guys, the center dot reticle of the scope was actually smaller than that 3/4 inch dot on the target, and not appearing the same size. It appeared smaller, so a nice fine little crisp dot in the center there. It was no more than 1/2 inch in diameter. And then here's 500 yards back here on no magnification on 1x, so clear to the back of this range is actually 540 yards. But this little green mound here I'm going to have you guys pointed on is actually the 450 yard mound, and you can see the 500 one slightly further back and off to the right there. So this is 3x magnification, 450 yards on that particular mound. And then this is full 10x magnification on the same 450 yard mound. And man, that just brings you real freaking close down there. I feel like I could make hits with 3x magnification, but definitely with that 10x magnification, I could probably even pick off a groundhog at 500 yards if the gun was accurate enough with that 10x magnification. Also, keep in mind, again, it looks better in person than these images through the scope. You can even see the rain coming down there, so that's not making it easy whatsoever for me to get clear, crisp images for you guys. And for example, all those little dots from that Christmas tree reticle, not the easiest thing to see in these images, but actually looking through it with your own naked eye, it's actually very easy to see all those dots, no problem, even in this overcast, low light, rainy conditions.
All right, I had to take her off there to get those images for you guys. I can never get low enough with the camera because I hit the, stock or buffer tube, whatever you want to call it there. Combination of both, but yeah, as you can see in those images there, pretty impressive. By the way, sorry about the raging, but man, I've been trying like hell to get out here, and it just has not stopped raining all freaking year. Then when it finally does, I'm like, man, I gotta mow, and it's just been a nightmare to get out here. And when it's not raining, it's so incredibly hot. But anyways, it is what it is. But that made for some cool shots. At least it looked like the first three we captured on camera at 400 in the rain and wind before my stinking camera spun off on me. I got a wore out camera stand I need to replace. But yeah, this thing's fantastic out there. 400 or 500 yards. If I was going to shoot that far with an LPVO, this is definitely the one I'm going with. And still to this date, if I haven't mentioned so in this video, this has the biggest eye box I've ever seen on any LPVOs. That's true for the 1-6 that I reviewed earlier. Also, again, that'll be linked in the description if you want to check that one out, or you can just check out the parts, accessories, and optics playlist. But yeah, if you're wanting to do more than just, 100, 200 yard shooting with your AR or whatever with an LPVO scope, this is definitely the way to go. And I would, of course, opt for the 10x magnification, because that really helps you a lot with your longer range shots there. Being able to see, I mean, I feel like on a man-sized target silhouette out there, I could shoot 500 yards just on 3x, no problem. So that 10x almost makes it easy, which, by the way, seems absolutely true to magnification. 1x seems like 1x, 10x seems like 10x. Like I said, I'm a huge fan of the turrets and all the marks you got. And as I said earlier in the video, see, I ended up on 11 there, and we're on 12 there, to be zeroed for 100 yards. So now that I've finished that, I can loosen this, pull the cap up, spin it back to 0 without changing my 0, without getting any clicks, and get that dial back on 0. That way, if I wanted to dial for longer range shots instead of having to hold high like I did, I can now give it the appropriate amount of clicks up, left, and right for windage if it's windy like it freaking was. So I do not have to leave those there. That's the purpose of the re-zeroable, resettable turrets there, so you can use those numbers to dial for dope for your holdover on longer shots, or even regular 200 yard shots if it's real windy to one side and you're out hunting. But yeah, I still stand firm, especially in this 10x magnification. This is my most favorite LPVO scope. So if you want a real nice LPVO, especially if you plan to shoot further ranges like I like to do out here beyond 200 yards, well beyond 200 yards, this is going to be the guy for you. If you're looking for a first focal plane LPVO like this one is, I haven't ran into one better yet. So I really love these scopes by Gunnr. I would like to see some second focal plane options from them in the future with some BDC marks. I've recommended that to them. So if they ever do come out with anything like that in the future, hopefully I'll have that up on the channel for you guys as well. But this is the perfect LPVO if you want a first focal plane and you want to shoot longer ranges. It gives you that Christmas tree reticle like what is standard on some of those big boys, the 5 to 25, 6 to 36s and whatnot. So
also, again, with the Gunnr Odins, you get quarter MOA clicks instead of half MOA clicks like most LPVOs have.
For more precision work with an LPVO, definitely check out the Odin, again, linked in the description. Guys, for things I cannot link to on YouTube, make sure you check out my campsite page for things that I can link to, like that scope there. Check out the description under the video /more. Like my target stand there, shoot and see targets I use, steel targets, shooting bags, safety glasses, earmuffs, and way more. Links in the description for all that, things I can link to. Thanks for stopping by and checking us out today, guys. I really appreciate it. Thanks for tolerating my little rage session there, and I hope to catch you on the next one.